As we've been watching sports over the years, Tom and I have noticed that many of the sports announcers have been biased when reporting for a team. Announcers just always seem to get a little more excited for one team than the other.
When we were presented with the FOA project, we decided that this would be the perfect opportunity to share our findings of how evident sports bias is with the class. Throughout this video, we will show you clips of one particular announcer who's admittedly very biased, as well as having a staged interview with him.
We will also show clips of different announcers being obviously biased towards one team and analyze how the tone and diction the broadcaster uses. Then we will go into detail about bias specifically regarding news coverage and sports coverage.
Yeah! Now being shown is our exclusive interview with Ken Hawk Harrelson. Hawk played in the MLB for 8 years and was briefly a general manager for the White Sox. Mr. Harrelson is now entering his 34th season with the White Sox.
To Dunn. What job? Oh, what are you doing? He threw him out of the ball game. You gotta be vaping me. What in the hell are you doing? What are you doing, Wagner? You gotta be kidding me. That is so bad. That is absolutely brutal.
That's incredible.
That is unbelievable. I'll tell you what. They have got to start making guys be accountable. That is totally absurd.
Hey, Mr. Harrelson, thanks for agreeing to an interview with us.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be asked about what I do. I love talking about my job.
So, Hawk, you have a very extensive career in commentating. What's been your favorite part?
Well, I just love the fact that I actually enjoy my job. I get paid to watch my favorite team play. So many people are forced into careers they don't enjoy, but I'm lucky enough to be doing what I love.
That's really great to hear from such an icon like you.
Thanks, man. I try to do what I can to encourage the youth to pursue a career in what they enjoy.
So if you enjoy your job so much, why did you retire?
Well, I really would enjoy to spend more time with my family. I really enjoy the amount of time I've been able to take off, but I'm getting older and I know I need to spend more time with them.
There's countless evidence of you referring to teams as we, us, our, as well as nicknaming some of the players. Did you try to influence the fans and spectators watching the game to cheer for the White Sox?
Well, at the beginning of my career, I tried to suppress my support for the White Sox because I feared my career was in jeopardy. Later on in the season, I found myself not being able to control my outburst, as well as referring to the team as we and us. As you mentioned earlier, pretty soon I gave up on trying to appear as though I'm unbiased broadcaster, and I began to not care how supportive I am of Chicago over there. My intent was never to sway the spectators in one way or another, though I have no problem with more White Sox fans.
What makes you biased towards the White Sox? And when you played 8 total seasons with Kansas City, Washington, Boston, and Cleveland.
Well, I was the general manager for the White Sox in 1986 after commentating for them for the previous few years. I just fell in love with the team and the program.
Do you feel that your previous bias towards the White Sox influenced Chicago's decision to appoint your general manager?
Absolutely. They knew I would be loyal to them and that I love the program. They knew I wouldn't say anything demeaning about the team and I wouldn't leave the job until I retired.
You've made it clear that you're openly biased, but do you feel your being biased is a good thing?
Being biased towards the White Sox is always a good thing. The more White Sox fans around, the better. But I feel like there's certain things that should remain unbiased, such as news and newspapers. As far as sports goes, there's no harm in being biased over there.
Do you think it's possible to avoid bias?
No way. Everyone has a team close to their hearts. There are certain situations where you can't help but getting a little more excited for one team than the other. Bias involving news is the same way. Everyone has an opinion and they like sharing it. Though people try to dodge it, bias is unavoidable.
You've got to be bleeping. got to be it. Just Daniel Murphy. Has some good at-bats against us at Citi Field. Pops him up. Gillespie. And now Beckham. And we find another way. Yet another way. That's hard to believe. Going to throw.
Everybody on their cars and the radio back to Plano. Done missed the greatest comeback of all time. Oh no! Oh no! Oh my gosh! No! Come on! No! Oh gosh! God bless those kids. I'm sick. I want to throw up.
As you can tell from the video, the announcers wanted one team to win. We do not know the announcer's history with the team or the announcer's motives for being this one-sided, but it was obvious that the announcers favored one team over the other.
The announcers used phrases such as, "Oh good God Almighty, this is the greatest comeback of all time," after one of the teams scored. He spoke very loudly and very excitedly, showing obvious support for one of the teams.
When the other team scored, the announcers responded negatively. One announcer said, "No, no, 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 no," as you heard, while the other went as far as to say, "I'm sick, I want to throw up." When you would think that the announcers would have been just as excited for this team scoring as they were for the other one, but it was obvious that they weren't as enthusiastic. This swayed the spectators to the side with the announcers on who they wanted to win the game.
Lo scambia ancora con Alberto, ultimi scenari di rigore, Mirko tira,
During the video, you can hear the announcer's reaction to a goal scored by a team that was already winning 3-0 with over half the game left to play. The announcer was overly excited for this team scoring because this meant that there was very little chance for the other team to come back. He got excited for the team, which could have easily swayed the fans into rooting for the other team that just scored. There are a lot of ways you can identify bias within the text you're analyzing. Massive pointers towards bias in text can be found in the use of language, tone, and diction. Language is normally used to give a certain mood to a text. For example, if the author is writing about something serious, they aren't going to crack random jokes. Tone and diction played a large role in both the language of the text, and it also helped identify the bias. For example, Hawk's tone in the first video is clearly rage. This rage shows that he is partial to the White Sox. Context plays a large role in determining bias as well. Generally, when the author or speaker goes off on a tangent or starts speaking faster or louder, there is some kind of bias involved.
Bias has had a bad reputation in sports because it sways the audience's view towards the game. Technically, there can be good bias. It gets the crowd riled up and gets their adrenaline going. Realistically, there isn't any good bias in sports because everyone has the right to their own opinion, whether it be in the announcer or the spectator. One might ask if it's possible to avoid bias. Our answer is no. Everyone has feelings, and it's hard to suppress your feelings when talking about any topic, whether it's talking about your feelings towards a political or social justice issue or recounting events that happen in a sports game. As hard as you may try, it's impossible to avoid bias. Bias is something that you'll have to deal with your whole life and have to learn to look through it. Thank you for watching our lit FOA on bias in sports. We would appreciate a good grade, Miss Nesbitt.